We cut a seat for ourselves just below the south summit and removed our oxygen apparatus. As our first partly filled bottle of oxygen was now exhausted, we had only one full bottle left. Our apparatus was now much lighter, weighing just over 20 lb. And as I cut steps down off the south summit, I felt a sense of freedom and well-being. Okay, so what happened? When they reached that place where the snow is completely firm, we had cut a seat for ourselves. Like in the ice itself, they had made a plain seat for themselves, and they had seated over there. They were sitting over there. Okay, and below the south summit, oxygen apparatus they were checking. When they saw it, they were completely astonished to know that, they were completely sad to know that the first partly full bottle, okay, the bottle which they are carrying which was partly filled, was completely exhausted. It is over. Okay, and what is left with them now? Only one full bottle is left with them. Okay, and it is only with a weight of 20 lb, not much. So now what they are doing, they are cutting steps. Like in the ice itself, they are making steps, like a staircase like a structure, for them to climb it easily, so that their oxygen cylinder will also be used less. Okay, as my ice axe bit into the first steep slope of the ridge, my high hopes were realized. The snow was crystalline and firm. 2 or 3 blows of ice axe produced a step large enough for our oversized high altitude boots, and firm thrust of ice axe would sink in half the way up the shaft, giving a solid and comfortable belay. Okay, so what happened when the steep slope of the mountain is over? Okay, so this first hope was that when they realized that this slope is over, the next hope was this: the snow was crystalline and firm. Okay, it was a crystal kind of a snow, and it was firm. So with an ice axe, if they give 3-4 blows to the ice, it is framing a nice big staircase kind of structure, which is enabling them to climb up easier. Okay, so comfortably they were climbing. We moved one at a time. I would cut 40-foot line of steps, tensing, belaying me while I worked. Then in turn, I would sink my shaft and put a few loops of rope around it, and tensing, protected against the breaking step, would move up to me. Then once again, he belayed me. I would go on cutting. So what is happening there? First time, Hillary is cutting a step. Okay, so once he cuts a step, Tenzing will climb that step and give a hold to Hillary. Then Tenzing will cut a step over there above him. Hillary will climb on that, and he will support Tenzing, like that, supporting each other. That is what the rope is, what, right? The person or a thing that supports each other to climb up the mountain. Like that, they were acting as a rope for each other, and they were climbing up the mountain. In a number of places, the overhanging ice cornices were very large indeed, and in order to escape them, I cut a line of steps down to where the snow melt rocks on the west. It was a great thrill to look straight down the enormous rock face and see 8,000 feet below us, and the tiniest tents of the Camp 4 in Western CMW scrambling on the rocks and cutting handholds of the snow. We were able to shuffle past these difficult portions. So what happened? When they were climbing up and up, they were seeing these cornices. We saw, right, these snow particles or the ice particles that are framing like the nicely molded edges of a furniture. It is there, but it is not present on the mountain. If you step on that, you will directly fall down. But when you see that, it will be like it is there on the top of the mountain. It will not show you that it is hanging out separately. Only if you find out it is hanging out, you will be saved. If not, if you step on it, you will fall down. Such a difficult portion was it. Okay, so what happened? To confirm that it is a cornice or is that a snow that is firm, he had cut large steps. Okay, so to the end of that west corner he had cut, so that these cornices, if they are lying not attached to the mountain, then they are falling down. So he is sure that it is a cornice, we should not step on it. This is where the snow is firm, we should step on it. Like that they were analyzing the situation and they were moving. When they were cutting down this cornice is falling down 8,000 feet down, it seems. It was an amazing view for them to see the cornice falling down, and all other people from Camp 4 also climbing, scrambling over this mountain, putting a hole on the snow. So all these were amazing and wonderful adventurous things that they were seen when they were climbing on the mountain. On its east side was another great cornice. Running up full 40 feet of step was narrow crack between the cornice and the rock. Leaving Tenzing and to me, belay as best as he could. I jammed my way into his crack. Then, kicking backwards, I sank to the spikes of my crampons deep into the frozen snow behind me and levered myself to the ground. What happened? You can see over here. Okay, this is a cornice. Okay, this the snow that is projected over here. The snow that is projected over here, these are cornice. These are not the ones that are on the mountain. Okay, so they were climbing and climbing when they saw this. There is a big crack between the mountain. This is a rock and this is the mountain they were climbing. There is a big crack between the mountain and the rock. So somebody has to go from this side to that side and then hold a grip so that the next person will come. Okay, so like that, if they wanted to go, what did Hillary do? First, Hillary lay a rope over there, a trail over there. He just went that side, he held a grip over there, and then he allowed Tenzing to come over there. Like that, they crossed this portion. Taking advantage of every little rock hold at the and all of this force of the knee, shoulder and arms I could muster, I literally cramped backwards up the crack, praying that cornice would remain attached to the rock. My progress, although slow, was steady. As Tenzing paid out the rope, I inched my way upwards until I could reach over the top of the rock and drag myself out of the crag into the wide ledge. Okay, so what happened? These are all the crampons. This is the ice hammer, ice axe. Okay, this is a crampon that they were putting over there to cross the crack. Okay, so now what is happening? He is having that support of his knees, shoulder and arms, giving all the strength of that knees, shoulder and arms. He is giving that strength and the confidence to himself. He is gaining that strength and confidence to himself, and he is trying to climb cross this crack. Okay, and when he is doing it, he is praying to himself what? This cornice that is there in the corner, right? These this corner and this corner, there are corners. If they just fall down, what will happen? He will also fall inside the crack. So he was praying this cornice should not fall down. Okay, and that is what he was praying to himself, and he was dragging himself across the ledge. Got it? And for a few moments I lay regaining my breath, and for the first time really felt the fierce determination that nothing now could stop us reaching the top. Okay, so for a few moments after crossing this crack, he was lying with the fierce determination. He was really excited and also out of fear. Okay, that's a mixed emotion. He was lying over there, and now he is telling what? This is the time I got the determination. Somehow or the other I should reach the summit. The top of the mountain I should reach. That firm determination has come to him after crossing this crack, it seems. I took a firm stance on the ledge and signaled to Tenzing to come on up. As I heaved hard to the rope, Tenzing wriggled his way up the crack and finally collapsed at the top like a giant fish when it has just been hauled from the sea after a terrible struggle. Okay, so what happened? First, Hillary came this side. He was holding this scramble, and Tenzing was also climbing now. Crossing the crack from that rock to this rock. Now he is hoping that Tenzing will cross in a proper manner. Okay, Tenzing also was wriggling like a snake, only he was moving, and smartly he came this side. Okay, when he was moving, his hauling, his breathing was like a fish that was breathing for out of oxygen, that was out of the water, and suddenly it got all its breath when it reached the water. Like that, his howling was there. Okay. The ridge continued as before. Giant cornices on the right, steep rock sloped on the left. The ridge curved away to the right, and we have no idea where the top was. As I cut around the back of one hump, another higher one would swing into the view. Time was passing and the ridge seemed never ending. Okay, so the ridge is nothing but the crossing point horizontally or diagonally. If you are crossing the mountain, that is said to be the ridge. Okay, the ridge continued and continued and continued. They were cutting up the curves, they were cutting the snow to form a step and everything they are doing, but nowhere they are coming up to a conclusion. This is the summit of the mountain. This is where the mountain ends. They were unable to decide it at all. More and more and more they cut the mountain and they climb up. More and more ridge only is coming up. There is no point of ending at all. It is going never ending. Our original zest has now quite gone, and it was turning more into a grim struggle. I then realized that the ridge ahead, instead of rising, now dropped sharply away. I looked upwards to see a narrow snow ridge running up a snowy summit. A few more whacks of ice axe in the firm snow, we stood on top. Okay, and then they realized the original zest, the original pathway of them. Okay, the snowy mountain, the snow ridge is asking them to go down, it seems like. The summit is just above his head, but still if he is following the ridge, if he is following the horizontal slope of the mountain, it will drag him down. That is the way this mountain is located. Okay, so he looked upwards to see that's a narrow ridge running, a narrow ridge, a small path like a ridge is a horizontal path is there, which it's a snowy summit, completely snow. There is no rock at all. So that is the summit of the Everest. Okay, there is no rock at all. He is already on top, and that is what he is realizing just now. My first feelings were of the relief that there were no more steps to cut, no more ridges to traverse, and no more humps to tantalize us with the hopes on success. I looked at Tenzing in spite of balaclava, helmet, goggles, oxygen mask, all encrusted with the long icicles that concealed his face. There was no disgusting his grin of delight as he looked all around him. We shook hands, and then Tenzing threw his arm around my shoulders and we thumped each other on the back until we were almost breathless. It was 11:30 a.m. The ridge had taken us 2.5 hours, but it seemed like a lifetime. Okay, so after they started from that point where they had reached the firm snow, 9 a.m. they had started, and by 11:30 they had reached the summit. It was only 2 hours, but still the journey seemed like a lifetime journey for them, it seems. Okay, so when they realized that they reached the summit of the Everest, they are on the top of the Everest, when they realized that Hillary was looking at Tenzing, okay, with all happiness, he was looking at Tenzing. Tenzing, even though he was wearing his goggles, he was wearing his mask, he was carrying his oxygen cylinder, out of all these, that grin means showing your teeth and smiling. Okay, that is what is a grin. So Tenzing was smiling, he was giving a grin out of the achievement they had made, and that grin is uncomparable, he is saying. Okay, and they both hugged, they both gave thumbs up to each other. They were like, they had achieved their lifetime goal. They are in that highest moment of happiness. To the east was our giant neighbor Makalu, unexplored and unclimbed. Far away across the clouds, the great belt of Kanchenjunga loomed onto the horizon. To the west, we could see the great unexplored ranges of Nepal stretching off into the distance. So, to the east, what is there? To the west, what is there? When they were standing on top of the Everest. That is what they are describing now. To the east is the Makalu. Okay, that is again a giant mountain that is unclimbed, unexplored by anybody. And far off the place in the west, there is the mountain ranges of Nepal was there, okay, and also in far away there was Kanchenjunga that was also unexplored. All these mountains, Makalu, Kanchenjunga, and the ranges of Nepal, they are all unexplored and unclimbed, but they are standing surrounded by Everest, okay. The most important photograph I felt, I was shown down to the North Ridge, showing the North Colony and the old route which I had been made famous by the struggles of those great climbers of 1920s and 30s. After 10 minutes, I realized that I was becoming rather clumsy-fingered and slow-moving. So I quickly replaced my oxygen set. Look at that. The most important photograph he had taken after reaching that topmost point is showing the North Ridge, showing the North Colony, the old route. Like many people in 1920s and 30s, they have kept on climbing Everest, and they have formed a path in the North Ridge where that is the commonly followed route to attain the summit. Such a path, he had taken a photograph of that path, it seems. So such a good photograph he had taken after reaching the summit. After realizing, after enjoying all this, after taking that photograph, he slowly realized that he is out of oxygen. He is going to, his body is going slow. So he needs more oxygen to breathe now. He realized that and quickly he put on his oxygen set. Meanwhile, Tenzing had made a little hole in the snow. In it, he placed various small articles of food, a bar of chocolate, a packet of biscuit, and a handful of lollies. Small offerings indeed, but at least a token gift to the god that all devout Buddhists believe have their home in the lofty summit. Okay, so what happened after reaching the summit? Tenzing did what? He just dug a small hole in the snow. He put some food particles like a bar of chocolate, a pair of biscuit packets, okay, handful of lollies, okay, lollies are nothing but candies, okay. These are all these things he put in that hole. Mentioning that the Buddhist people believe that God lives in Everest, the summit of the mountain, God lives. So such a great opportunity they had reached the place of the God. So a small offering to the God like that he had put it over there. Okay. While we were together on the South Colony 2 days before, Colonel Hunt had given me a small crucifix which he had asked me to take to the top. I too made a hole in the snow and placed the crucifix beside Tenzing's gifts. Okay, crucifix is nothing but the cross they will have for the Jesus cross kind of thing. Okay, when they were starting from South Colony 2 days before, Colonel Hunt was there in South Colony. He gave the crucifix to Hillary. He asked Hillary to place it on top when he reaches over there. He did the same next to Tenzing's gifts. After 15 minutes, I moved down off the summit onto our steps. Wasting no time, we crampled along our tracks, spurred by urgency of diminishing oxygen. We scrambled cautiously over the rock traverse, moved one at a time over shaky snow sections, and finally crampled up our steps back to the south peak. Okay, so what happened? Now they are coming down the a mountain in the same way how they were climbing up, the same way they were firm land, they were firm rocks, they were loose snow, for everything they had managed, and they are coming down to this now south peak now. We were now very tired but moved down to the two reverse cylinders on the ridge. As we were only a short distance from the camp and had few liters of oxygen left in our own bottles, we carried extra cylinders down and reached our tent in a crazy platform at 2 p.m. By 2 p.m. they had reached their tent, and by the time their oxygen cylinders were also good. Okay, they did not face any oxygen scarcity. With the last look at the camp that had served us all so well, we turned downwards with dragging feet and set ourselves to the task of safely descending the ridge to South Colony. So after reaching their camp at 27,900 feet, they had a camp, right? That place they had reached again, they had collected all their belongings, and now they are going down to the South Colony. The time passed as in a dream. Two figures came towards us, met us. A couple of 100 feet above the camp, they were George Lowe and Wilfred Noyes, laden with hot soup and emergency oxygen. Just a short tent of my oxygen ran out. We had enough to do the job, but no means too much. Okay, so what happened? They had managed themselves very well to reach the camp where they will get more supply of oxygen. Okay, and they had a nice soup too, prepared by George Lowe and Wilfred Noyes. They were the camp members of them. If you remember, in the first 6 men we told, two among the 6 men. We crawled into the tent, and a sigh of delight collapsed in our sleeping bags while the tents flapped and shook under the perpetual South Colony gale. Okay, and here it is. Not all adventures are exciting, nor is a wait, we'll go here. John Hunt, who led the expedition, states that it was an unforgettable day. They had climbed to the top. There were shouts of joy, handshakes, and hugs for two heroes. Their happiness and pride showed how these men had shared the achievement that was brilliantly concluded by Tenzing and Hillary. The adventure was over. The story of the ascent of Everest is one of the commandership and teamwork formed through the dangers and difficulties met and overcame together. Perhaps after the climbing of this great mountain, others will find their own Everest, for there are still many opportunities for adventure. Some are close at hand, others are far away in distant lands. Okay, so this is what is the line picked up from the original book. This lesson is a part of the original book, right? That original book's author is John Hunt. John Hunt stated these words at the end of the book, it seems. He is telling when Hillary and Tenzing reached the top point of the summit, they were like happiness to the core was there. They were having handshakes, they were having hugs together. Okay, this happiness was brilliant, and it is just because of the team effort. Okay, and he is also stating that people who wants to achieve high in their life, they have their own Everest. Like for me, finishing up my doctorate might be my Everest. For you, finishing up your 12th standard with the high marks can be your temporary Everest. Finishing up your chartered accountancy or your doctor or your engineering or whatever field you want to become, that might be your Everest of your life. Yes, not only the people who climb the Everest are good, are great, are achievers. No, even you who is achieving what you want in life is an achiever. Yes, so this achievement comes only from commandership and teamwork. You have to know how to get along with people. You have to know how to learn from people. You have to know how to lead when you have to lead your life. Okay, so this is what is the lesson. Not all adventures are exciting, nor is an adventure to be found only upon the mountain. There are Everests to be climbed on everyday life. Give the selfless and resolve Given the selfless and resolve which enabled men to climb Everest, there is no height, no depth, no spirit of man guided by higher spirit cannot attain. Understood? So, a man cannot attain. Nothing in this world is like that. If you want to attain something as a human being, you can definitely attain it. Only thing is, you have to plan it, you have to execute it properly. That is what you have to learn. Nothing else is going to stop you from attaining what you want in life. If you want something in life, you can attain it, provided it's a good thought and it will lift you up in the life. Got it? So if you want to become something, you can become something. If you want to do something, you can do that. You have to have proper planning, proper implementation should be there. That's all you need. And never ever let yourself down. You should not think low about yourself. You are the best person in the world, and you are the one who is capable for doing it. If you cannot, nobody else can do it. Have that faith in you. Go ahead to achieve every Everest that comes up in your life. Every day life of a human being is an Everest. So you are climbing Everest every day. You are capable of doing it. Many are failing it, and you are still carrying on it, means you are capable. So make sure you are climbing the Everest that comes on your way every day. Thank you, children. I would wish you will read this lesson again from the book. Okay, go through the glossaries, and please finish off the vocabulary exercises that are there in your book. Got it? Thank you. Meet you again.